Right now, as you're watching this, there's probably a cup of coffee nearby. You drink it every morning without thinking twice. But do you know how long humans have known it? The answer is going to surprise you, because it all started with some goats that couldn't sleep. Legend has it that more than 1,000 years ago, in the mountains of Ethiopia, a shepherd named Kaldi noticed something strange about his goats. After eating the red berries from a wild bush, the animals wouldn't stop jumping. They didn't sleep at night. They seemed to have an energy that made no sense. Curious, Kaldi decided to try the berries himself. And he felt the same thing his goats did, a sudden burst of energy, a clarity he'd never felt before. He ran to tell the monks at a nearby monastery. The monks, at first, didn't trust it. They thought the berries were the devil's work and threw them into the fire. But then something happened that no one expected. The heat released such an intense aroma that all the monks froze in place. They had unknowingly discovered the first coffee roast in history. They pulled the beans from the embers and mixed them with hot water. That's how the first known cup of coffee was born. They used it to stay awake through long nights of prayer. But why did the goats react that way? Caffeine didn't evolve to keep us awake. The plant produces it as a defense against the insects that attack it. We just happened, without meaning to turn a plant's poison to our advantage. And that side effect changed the course of human history. This story, although it sounds like a legend, has a real basis. The first written records of coffee appear centuries later, not in Ethiopia, but across the Red Sea, in Yemen. It was the Sufis, mystic monks of Islam, who began preparing a dark drink with roasted, ground beans. They called it kawa, a word originally used for wine, which is where today's word, coffee, comes from. They drank it to stay awake during their nighttime rituals, in which they recited the name of God for hours. Coffee wasn't born as a social pleasure. It was born as a spiritual tool. From Yemen, coffee traveled with pilgrims heading to Mecca. Everyone who tried this dark, bitter drink took the custom back to their own city. Within a few decades, the first coffee houses appeared in Mecca, Cairo, Damascus, Istanbul. They became more than just a place to drink. They were centers of conversation, music, chess, and politics. They came to be called schools of the wise because everything was debated there. And for some rulers, that was dangerous. In fact, coffee was banned several times throughout history. In the Ottoman Empire, one sultan went so far as to punish by death anyone caught drinking it. But here's what almost nobody knows. Caffeine is, today, the most consumed psychoactive substance on the planet, far above any other legal or illegal drug combined. And no ban in any empire ever managed to stop it. Coffee had already become a necessity. The jump to Europe came in the 17th century through Venetian merchants. At first, some Catholic clergy called it the bitter drink of the devil, for coming from the Islamic world. Legend has it that the Pope himself decided to try it before condemning it, and instead of rejecting it, he was so pleased that he decided to baptize it, giving Christians his blessing to drink it without guilt. From then on, there was no turning back. Coffee houses appeared in Venice, London, Paris, Vienna, and just as in the Islamic world, these places filled up with writers, philosophers, and merchants who gathered to discuss ideas. Some historians believe that without those European coffee houses, the Enlightenment wouldn't have moved as fast. The greatest minds of the time discussed science and philosophy, with a cup of coffee in hand instead of a mug of beer like before. Before coffee, many people in Europe drank alcohol nearly all day, even at breakfast, because water wasn't always safe. With the arrival of coffee, much of the population started the day fully sober and alert for the first time in centuries. The next step was colonial expansion. Europeans began planting coffee in their colonies, in Indonesia, the Caribbean, Brazil. What had begun as a spiritual ritual in an Ethiopian monastery became, within a few centuries, one of the most traded commodities on the planet.